Review. Hi, this is Rockyweird from the upcoming show, the Canadian Comic Geek, and I like to thank Just Push Play for letting me do this, and here at the wonderful store known as the Comic Book Shop. Okay, if it's not too obvious, I'm a huge fan of Superman, so we're gonna start off today's review with Action Comics issue 21. Long story short, it's the typical Superman story. Superman fights Lex Luthor. Superman wins with the new 52 twist that Clark and Lois are not together. So ends with him being sad. Also, there's a story of what Superman's parents do on Krypton. Basically, it's not as good as a standalone issue. You have to buy the last two issues just to get the full story, which I highly recommend. Okay, for the X-Men fans, we go into All New X-Men issue 11, which for it's basically a time travel story with the original X-Men. So basically, Iceman's freaking out. Jean Grey's going, well, crazy, and Scott can't believe that an older version of himself is pretty much evil. I like this issue. Basically, it's like, which is a cover is a lie. There's no funny, but it does have a heartwarming moment between, well, Cyclops and his brother, for X-Men fans, reasons why. There's hardly any action, but it's still a good issue to read. I highly recommend. All right. For Astro City fans, good news. Astro City issue 1. I can only get the B cover because, well, the A cover went off way faster than hotcakes. But I still like the cover. It's done by Alex Ross, and introduces new characters like the Broken Man and American Chibi. For new fans, this is actually good to start off with. The old fans, this is still a good issue. Especially with this giant alien acting like a character from Venture Brothers, who just shouts a lot. Anyway, speaking of aliens, we have the new issue of Avengers, issue 13, where basically it takes place where issue 12 left off, and it's pretty much a Hyperion story. And I highly recommend it. If you haven't gotten issue 12, buy that too. Ever wondered if Morgan Freeman ever had a son? Because, well, he played Lucius Fox in the Dark Knight movies. Well, here's something for you. Because apparently his son, Lucas Fox, is apparently Batwing, who kind of reminds me of Black Panther and an armored version of Batman Beyond. Which, if you're just reading this, he's not a bad character he's not a bad character in Batman, fighting a huge man lion. I'm not even kidding here. Man lion. It's like man lion fight, and basically how he deals with family life and working for Batman, which is really weird because Lucas and Lucius both work for Batman, yet they don't know. Still a good read. I recommend picking it up. Okay, and here is a dark comic. For those, I recommend fans of Criminal Minds or who really like gore, like Hellraiser gore. Because this is issue 7 of Bedlam, which is basically like a story about, okay, the worst criminal in a city pretty much named Asylum, who basically been brainwashed and been rehabilitated to good. It's a good read for crime stories for how insane the characters are. Although, quick warning: if you do pick up this particular issue, there is warning for the squeamish. Basically, the main character, Fillmore Press, aka Matter Red, plays with severed heads like hand puppets. But if you do read this and like it, I also recommend buying a graphic novel of the first 6 issues, because the crime stories are that good, of seeing basically if Moriarty became Sherlock and basically helping solving crimes. And here's something for Batman fans: if you did pick up Detective Comics issue 0, here's a continuation of that. which is basically it's a Batman one shot, but it's like it's a very quick 5-minute read. Although the other story in this, I would recommend just reading because it's basically about Kirk Langstrom, aka Man Bat. Basically, he trying to figure out like, does he have any control when he turns to Man Bat? Because he's finding like people dying at the one spot he hangs, pun intended, as Man Bat. Still, I recommend reading. Well, just the Man Bat story. And this is an issue. You can pick this up. You can read this singly or read every issue of this series. Although it's ending in a few months, so it saddens me. Dial H. We're basically normal looking guy finds a dial that basically turns him into the most silliest of heroes. Example, Boy Chimney, and the one that makes me laugh every time I say it, Cock-a-Hoop. Although this is not about Nelson Gent or any colors. This is mainly focused on one of the characters of this group called the Dial Bunch, Open Window Man. Which I know he's the most silliest but awesome hero I have ever heard. Although I recommend reading this because it is a tip-off to the Batman origin stories. Because because I'm pretty sure it's basically he sees a graffiti chalk version of Bruce Wayne, which I actually find adorable. Also, Origins on Open Window Man, which is the most silly. I recommend picking this issue because for one, Open Window Man, but also if you are interested, read the whole thing, all the issues of Dial H, because I recommend this is a really good series. Speaking of another good series, Earth 2, which got me intrigued of the character called Captain Steel. Although you don't see much of him or the new Batman. Which actually, this particular issue kind of picks up where the annual left off, which I also kind of recommend reading, even though the cover is kind of a lie. But anyway, read this if you want it, if you are intrigued. It kind of gets you wondering who the characters are, but other than that, it's pretty much story build-up. So yeah. Oh, and people who gotten a little sick and tired of Wrath of the First Lantern, good news, it's over. And after 2 weeks, we get the new issue of Green Lantern, issue 21, with a new writer and artist. It's actually not that bad. It's not that bad. Although I have to say, Caro does a bit of a 180 a little bit with Hal Jordan, and also Hal literally becomes the leader of the Green Lanterns. Well, apparently once Sinestro killed off all the Guardians, that's what you get. Although I like how they're wondering their Green Lanterns are going weird, but my only setback is that they introduce new characters, these kids, these new rookie Green Lantern children. They look like for aliens, they look like 12 to 13-year-olds. Although it's kind of a letdown because the opening part of the story, their chances are they're not gonna make it as Green Lanterns. Still, I recommend this solely on the fact there is a Larfleeze fight with green and orange Lantern powers duking it out. I recommend picking up just for that fight alone. And now an issue of one series I also like, along with other one of the more successful DC new 52 DC titles. The Phantom Stranger. I recommend reading this because, it's basically Phantom Stranger. He teams up and portrays the people he teams up with. Also that DC technically says, yes, we have a god and he's a dog. Yeah, I know, a bit weird, but read up on that. It is very interesting to read. Also, this particular issue, he literally goes to hell. Literally, hell, to save the people he loved from an arch foe he literally created himself, called the Sin Eater, which I think actually makes wonderful for this cover of the guy. That's very delicious sin. Anyway, I recommend picking this up because it may be a bit dark, but I recommend it because one thing, each issue of Phantom Stranger is not a bad read, and it makes you want to continue to see how the story goes. Mr. Ryan Clark. This is one of I'm a little bit disappointed. The new issue of Stormwatch. personally, I did enjoy Stormwatch when it first started back in issue 1. Although after 18 issues later, they thought, hey, let's reboot Stormwatch just for the heck of it. And I thought that was a little bit of a letdown for me. The art's not that great, in my opinion. But I'm hanging around just to see the story because they do retcon all the bad stuff that Liefeld did. Like they brought back Lobo, so woot, Lobo. But in this issue, pretty much like they realize like they're still trying to figure out what they're going on because one, they're in space and meeting aliens, so that's cool because they're basically DC's version of Torchwood. Also, I think it's another nod to Doctor Who for the fact that bad guys remind me of Time Lords. I'm not gonna explain it because you should probably read this for yourself, but pretty much the bad guys scream, "These are evil Time Lords." If you watch Doctor Who, you would totally get the idea. And now here's one of the series I didn't think I would like, The Superior Spider-Man, which is basically Doc Ock taking over Peter Parker's body. So basically, Peter's dead. Yay! And basically, Doc Ock is actually doing a not so bad job of Spidey. Sure, he's brutally beating criminals, like he blinded the Vulture, beat a few criminals to near death, and basically decked the Scorpion's lower jaw clean off. I know it's a bit dark and whatnot. Like he also murders a guy, but still, he's not that bad as Spider-Man. And basically, it's a good story because it's a revenge trip for the villains who got brutally beaten. Because basically, Spider-Man's at Blackgate. No, not Blackgate. That's DC. Sorry, he's at the Raft. Trying to make sure that the Alistair Smythe, aka the Spider Slayer, doesn't escape his execution. And basically, they both have tricks up their sleeve, which I think is brilliant. Like for mad scientist versus mad scientist. And last, but certainly not least, The Ultimates, issue 25. This one has some good points, but also a few bad points because I'm an Ultimate Marvels fan. I like the fact that they're involving Infinity Gauntlets and who they have for villains, and I thought like that's kind of badass when you see the Hulk with 2 Infinity Gauntlets. Although my only disappointment is they're called Disassembled, which is not bad, but I think they're just already one thing that some fans complained about Ultimate Marvel, reusing ideas that made them famous. Although I do recommend buying this because this is like a part 1. And you do see the Ultimates trying to make sure like how the Infinity Stones came from, and also that villains that they fought, mostly just good guys who turned bad guys, which it's not that bad, have basically formed together, got the Infinity Gauntlets, and say we're gonna reboot the universe. Which personally I think that's what DC already does on a decade basis. Oh, I'm kidding. Although there's a few like hiccups here and there, but other than that, it's not bad. It wasn't a bad read. Although a female king is a bit surprising. That's all I have to say. Other than that, most of the comics this week I highly recommend reading. Other than that, thanks for watching the Canadian Comic Geek on Just Push Play.